Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. I have another great guest, my new good friend, Sue Williams from beautiful Victoria, not British Columbia, but this time Australia, the other side of the pond, so to speak. We had a beautiful conversation last week. We're connected by our good common friend, Stephen Gillen. I'm very excited and looking forward to my chat with Stephen. I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm excited. And a little bit about Sue. Wow. I have a feeling that just the introduction can be a good 15 minutes, but I'm going to try to shrink it to just maybe 50 seconds. Let's see if I can pull that off. So hypnotherapist and many other things. She found a purpose in her mid-50s. She worked for the education department for 30 years. She's all about mindfulness, and she specializes in NLP and hypnotherapy, and specialize in using NLP and hypnotherapists for sports and sport executives, as well as executives in business, and especially specializing in equestrian because she was and she still is an avid horse rider herself. It's a big passion of hers, and she's doing that. She's also a doctor of quantum counseling. She's actually writing a book on it, over 300 pages, self-publishing, and also working on neurobiogetics, as well as an energy worker. She published 2 weeks, one of them just a week ago, so congratulations on that. And she also had a few appearances on TV and radio. She did a live radio section on health recently, as well as 5 segments for the local TV as well. And a program is called the Steady Stripes program, which is helping getting riders into their using the right mindset and getting fit, good, and having good nutrition. And she also helps and works with women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to help them cope with their body changing as a result of giving birth and aging. So, because what they were able to do at that age, you're not able to ride horses the same way you're able to do it in your teenager, which is natural and normal. She's helping them with that, as well as she's a multi-faceted, multi-gifted woman. She also, as an energy worker, she can do body scans for humans, animals, by scanning their hands and hands of cats, dogs, horses, and as well as that little pet called humans. So a lot of things she does. So that's just in a nutshell. I think I went over the 50 seconds, but she'll forgive me because we're going to dive deeper into that. So without any further ado, Sue, my dear friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Payman. Yes, that was quite an introduction. And I do all that in my spare time too.
I need to take my breath and get a sip because that was a mouthful. Eh?
It was.
All right. Tell us. For people who don't know you, Sue, we're going to talk about your business, your impact, your gifts, and all that good stuff later on.
Yep.
But for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Sue as a person, as a human being, and as a woman?
Well, next birthday, I'll be 70. And I really didn't find my true calling in life until I was in my mid-50s. So that was the holistic wellness for people. And that just clicked with me at that time because I just out of the blue, we did some professional development training at work in the education department on mindfulness. And that was just a huge turning point. But yeah, I'm not professional, but a competitive horse rider, have been, apart from a gap in the middle there where I went and had my kids, and then experienced exactly what I help women with now, going back to riding after being so gung-ho in the younger years and finding it doesn't quite work that way after you've been away for a while and your body has changed physically from, well, not doing the work with the horses, but also when you're pregnant, your body changes. So that was something that I saw that I could help people with. But I'm a mom and a grandma, and so now I'm full-time doing the holistic wellness in that wide range of different modalities.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll unpack all of that in a moment. First thing I'd like to do with my guests is ask them a series of fun, rapid-fire questions to further get to know them as a person. Ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right, tell us, what makes you happy?
Oh, being outside, being in nature, being around animals. I couldn't think of anything worse than being housebound and not getting out into the fresh air.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Mm.
What makes you smile?
Oh, well, the grandkids. I think that's the reward that parents have for having their kids, is they get grandkids often anyway. But yeah, they're amazing to have grandkids.
Tell me a question, quick question, personal question. What is the sweetest? You're seeing your kids grow up or seeing your grandkids growing up?
Oh, I think it's the grandkids, because you're not so closely involved with all the day-to-day traumatic things that happen when it's your own kids. And you're shielded a bit from that. And you get invited to all their school plays and the concerts, and get to see their amazing exam results and all those sorts of things as they get older. But you're not involved with the, having to find the money for the trombone lessons or driving them to basketball 3 nights a week and all those sorts of things. You just get to see the good side of it.
That's it. You don't see the sleepless night, the changing of diapers,
All that.
the mood swings, all that. Leave that to the parents. That's your job. I would just want to see the
Yes.
positives,
Well, I've got 4 kids, so I did change a lot of nappies.
Yes, beautiful, awesome. Now, what makes your heart sing? What sets your soul on fire?
Again, I think it's being out in nature. I love being with the horses, and I think you're either a horsey person or you're not. But when you are, it's your life and soul. And just being out with them, you don't need to be riding them. You just need to be out with them in the paddock or the field or the meadow, whatever you call it in your particular country. And it's just so peaceful. And you connect with them, and it's just amazing. It's so different to being with humans, and they're so forgiving, so loving. And yeah, that's it, what it is for me.
Absolutely. How do you connect? That's outside of the thing. How do you, is it easy to connect with a horse, to build that deep connection that, for example, you can build, say, with your dog or your cat, for example?
I think dogs and horses are quite similar, because once you've earned their trust, then that's a long-term relationship. Unless you do something really bad, they will stick with you. Cats are a bit more standoffish. I'm more a dog and horse person than a cat person.
Same
but
here.
Everyone's different, and I do love cats, and I tend to be the one that they come and just sit on me, and I have to stroke them. But they're a bit more standoffish, but the dogs and the horses are quite similar, that they will create this really strong bond, which lasts forever until they pass on.
How old can a horse get to?
Reasonably into their late 20s if they're well looked after, but quite possibly into their 40s.
Wow.
That's not unknown. And generally it's the smaller horses that live longer for whatever reason. So your ponies tend to live longer than your big horses. But getting into their late 20s is, a pretty good age for a horse. Beautiful. Especially if they're still active, because you don't want a horse that just, has too much arthritis or whatever to be able to wander around in the paddocks. And I don't like to keep them stabled. We're very fortunate that the weather here means that they don't need to be stabled. But my lot are on 10 acres and they just free range 24/7 in a herd. So it's a more natural environment for them.
Would you say that the horses that are involved in competitive, whatever, races or whatever, or jumping, they have they're more likely to have arthritis and leave early?
Definitely within the racing industry, because my opinion is that the horses are treated as a commodity rather than as sentient beings. So people are in that industry. This is a broad generalization, but I have seen that people are in the industry just to make a quick buck and then move them on. Fortunately, in Australia, I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but things are changing and people are taking on ex-race horses, ones that have been retired, and using them for general purpose riding, because the horses in the thoroughbred industry have been bred now to such a high level that they make fantastic show jumpers, eventers where you do dressage, cross country and show jumping, and even showing where they're all dressed up like a fashion model. And they're such attractive horses, and they have such beautiful natures that we are able to recycle them really effectively now, which gives them a lot more longevity. It's a win-win, really.
Yeah, growing up in the south of France, horse racing is big, massive. Everybody, loves to watch and loves to go into betting and all that. But one thing I really loved was watching this competition where the horse was going around and jumping over obstacles and hurdles, see the communion, the connection between the horse and the jockey and all that was always amazing. Even me as a child, I did some horse riding as a teenager, just a few times. I loved it.
Yeah.
Because horses are truly special. Once, just like you said, they're not very different from humans. Once you earn their trust, they will be with you. They're very loyal.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And they take a bit of looking after. So you really do need to be committed to that relationship. But, it's so wonderful. You get so much from it. Emotionally, it's amazing. Because I know a lot of the ladies that I talk to who have issues in their families with their partners or whatever, they'll go and just cry in the horse's mane, tell the horse all their problems. And it's like having your very best friend there who's totally confidential and private with your discussions, but you can just pour your heart out and the horse will just stand there because you share that energy with them once you've got that level of trust. It's just amazing.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
I try not to be angry because it's an emotion that really isn't very productive. Sadness, I think, is something that, it's okay to experience it as long as you look to resolve whatever the cause is. Things that make me sad are, in this day and age, when kids aren't looked after properly. Parents, I know the Australian government a few years ago introduced a baby bonus of thousands of dollars. And there was a big increase in births, as you can imagine. But people were putting on Facebook, got $3,000, went and bought that widescreen TV. And
seriously,
you think, well, what's your actual motive for having this child?
Seriously,
are you going to look after it, or are you just going to go on to the next one so you get another payout? But having worked in the education sector for so long, it breaks my heart when you see kids who aren't being looked after the correct way, and that's when they, turn to petty crime and that sort of thing. They become the local louts who go around breaking windows, breaking into cars, that sort of thing. And it's just heartbreaking when you see that happen.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. I can't understand why there are people, honestly, maybe that's going to be a bit controversial, what I'm going to say, but some people are not meant to be parents, To become a parent, you have to be ready, not only emotionally, but also financially. It's an
absolutely
undertaking. I saw a graph a few years ago that in the US, the cost to raise a child from birth to college can go anywhere from $250,000 to $750,000, like quarter to $750,000. That's a massive
Mhm.
undertaking. People say that
Yeah.
your greatest investment in your life is your house, but I tend to disagree. For me, it's your child, your children, in every
And
aspect.
that's another thing that makes me sad too, is that in this day and age, with the cost of living, and we have a housing crisis in Australia, people just can't afford to get into the housing market.
Same in Canada.
And you'll find that both parents have to work just to keep the family afloat, which means that more often than not, once the baby's 3 or 4 months old, they're off to childcare. And that's so sad, because I was in the fortunate position of being able to stay home with my kids until my youngest was in grade 4. And then I started working in the school. So I still had that daily contact throughout the day with my kids. But I was blessed to be able to stay home with my kids and watch them grow up. So many people can't do that now.
Yeah, sometimes, Sue, I wish I was born maybe 50 years earlier, because the world was much better, much different, much more wholesome. I remember my parents telling me that at their time, only the head of the household, which in that case, most of the time it was the husband or the father working, and that was enough to sustain an entire family. They get one job, you were set for life. But now it's a completely
Yes.
different story, and
Oh, very different.
almost even
Yeah,
the kids
very,
after
very.
work, almost, just to keep the
Yeah.
roof over your head.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
It's
And
crazy.
it's really hard on the parents and the kids, because you haven't got that family unit the way we used to have in the past.
The most important years of the life of a child is the first 7 years, because that's where they form all their beliefs. And if you outsource that to the education system, especially the way education system is going nowadays, especially in the Western world, I'm not sure about Australia, but in Canada and the US is going completely down the drain. They're poisoning the minds of young kids with things that are not supposed to be taught to kids at that young age.
Yeah.
And it's not a good thing to do. That's your responsibility as a parent to raise your children, not the school system, not the TV, not the iPad, and all of
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the moment, we are losing so many experienced teachers because the government isn't looking after them. We've got the crowded curriculum where they try and just pack in as much of a broad range as they can in so many different areas. And the teachers aren't allowed to discipline the children. They're not supported by the education department in so many areas, and they're just leaving.
Yeah.
So the ones that are left, they've got more and more kids in their classroom, which just exacerbates the problem. So it's really a vicious circle at the moment. Very, very difficult for all involved.
And the teachers are underpaid, undertrained, they're overwhelmed. And
yes, yeah,
the
all
result
that.
is
Yeah.
it's not good. Yeah.
No. And it's not good for the future when you see the way that some of the kids are turning out due to the insufficiencies in the education system.
The lack of accountability, lack of discipline in schools.
Yeah.
When I grew up, the teacher, in my time, I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. They could, one of the punishment the teacher would do in France, where they would put a pencil in between our fingers, and just crack it. That was really painful. Or they would ask us, go stand in the corner, pretend you're against the wall, pretend you're sitting on a chair, but there's no chair under your butt. That's very painful.
Goodness.
Or just stand facing the wall.
Yeah.
Or for example, for us boys, they would take us here by here, and nowadays a teacher can't even raise their voice against a child.
No, they can't touch them. They certainly can't use any physical discipline.
Yeah.
They can separate them from the class, but then, if you've got 5 or 6 kids who are doing the same thing, and they're spending a lot of time out of class not learning, well, that's not an answer either.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on homeschooling kids?
Great idea if you are committed enough and you are financial enough to be able to do it. because again, this is purely my opinion, but our current education system is from the 1800s or earlier. It hasn't evolved with the times, with the changes in society. And, you still get the classroom full of kids sitting at a desk with the teacher out the front writing on the whiteboard, even if it's a smart whiteboard, it's still the same.
Memorizing and all that.
And every child is so different, but the curriculum is presented to that narrow band in the middle, not the kids who need the extra support or the kids who aren't challenged by that. They need extra. So you've only got this narrow band in the middle that the curriculum is actually perfect for, but they don't make allowances for that. And that's why kids drop out. That's why they become problems in the classroom, because they're not challenged, or they just, they've dropped so far behind that they just don't care anymore. Yeah, that's my opinion. But yeah, that's what I've seen in the education sector.
Yeah, we could do an entire episode on that. We may do that in a future.
We could.
Episode, but yeah, seriously, it's a fascinating topic. I don't have any kids yet, but I do love kids, and I would love to learn more and see what can be done to really revamp the entire education system, not just in Australia or in Canada, but probably the entire world,
Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome. Cool. What would you say, Sue, is your number one personal superpower?
I think being able to listen to people. I'm happy to sit back, as a therapist or as a friend, and just let people say, let it all out, whatever it is that they've been suppressing, because I'll listen without judgment. And then I'm more than happy to offer suggestions, but I'm not the sort of person who'll tell them, a friend in particular, oh, what do you want about? Just pull your socks up, get out there and overcome these difficulties that you're talking about. But also especially with the hypnotherapy, a session with a client, it's their session, not mine. So with the therapeutic part, I'm there to guide them and to ask relevant questions, but I'm also there to listen to their responses and then to continue the session depending on what they say. But yeah, I am a good listener.
That's an amazing skill to have, That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Exactly. Yeah, not a truer word spoken.
We need to listen twice as much than we need to talk,
Exactly.
Awesome. Couple of quick questions that really would love your feedback on it. What is one thing that you used to value and now you don't value as much?
Oh, good question.
Thank you.
I think probably being popular. When you're young, I think you want to be the center of everyone's world and you want them to be paying attention to you all the time. So even if not popular, just to be that center of attention and have people, and then sometimes even reverting to bad behavior, just so that you get the attention. But yeah, that really being popular, being that one that everyone wants to be a friend with and all that sort of thing. I think I've moved on from that. I'm a bit more, not self-centered, but living within myself. I'm happy in my own skin, so I don't need that gratification from the external sources like I did when I was much younger.
Sure. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what is one thing that you did not value before that you value more and more nowadays?
Again, with the listening and really listening to what people are saying, not just brushing off their comments, but because a lot of people will hold in so much that they really want to get off their chest. And if you listen to the way they speak, you can pick up on cues and you can say, is there something else that you'd really like to talk about? We can go and have a coffee and you can just let me know some of the things that maybe are worrying you. So it's the listening, the deeply listening to what people are saying. I think because I used to be one of these people who was more interested in, what was happening here and just blah, 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 blah. Not really listening properly, especially in a group setting. But now I pay so much more attention to not only the words that people say, but their demeanor when they say it, their body language, because that's so revealing. So
Absolutely.
that's something that I didn't value before, but that I do now.
Absolutely. What would you say are your core values?
Honesty, that's huge. Being, truthful, because it's a very hard thing to live your life as a lie, because because you have to be on guard the whole time. When are you going to slip up and say something that's not true? So being truthful, that's pretty important to me. And being open to change. I've found that that's such a difficult thing for people to do, to leave behind things because people get comfortable in their discomfort. So it's such a hard thing to change. But if you're open to change, your life can improve just astronomically.
Absolutely.
So that's being open to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You like traveling, right?
I've never been out of Australia, just because Australia has everything from the tropics to the alpine regions and everything in between.
Yeah.
But definitely, I love traveling within Australia because you can have a winter trip, go to the snow. You can have a trip to the tropics year round and have the warmth and the tropical islands, all that sort of thing. Or you can go to opal mines. You can go and see all the historic sites. Uber Petey, yeah. So there's just so much in Australia that I love traveling within the country. Yeah.
We can do an entire episode on traveling, but we may do that in a future episode. For now, I'd like to take you down another type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you were growing up as a little girl. When we're kids, people around us, family, relatives, neighbors, teachers, friends always ask us, "Hey, Sue, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What does your answer to that as a little girl?
And this is the reason that I didn't find my true calling until I was in my mid-50s, because I had no idea growing up what I wanted to do. And they say, yes, around that time that you're 7 years old, whatever you are absolutely drawn to is something you should follow as a life's calling. And no, I had no idea. Love the horses. But you're never going to make money just riding horses. So that's not a career path. And people would ask me, and I said, I don't know, no idea. I went to career counsellors in the middle of high school. So those middle years when you have to pick the stream that you're going to do your subjects in the later years. No idea. So I did maths science in the later years of high school. And then that didn't lead me anywhere that I wanted to do things. So I went to business college purely so I could go out and get a job. And then I did the secretarial admin, and then got to quite a high level in business management with the education department. And that was in the mid-50s when we did that mindfulness training. And all of a sudden it just clicked. There you go. And think, and of course that wasn't available. You couldn't be a mindfulness practitioner or a professional hypnotherapist back in the early 1960s, they weren't options. So I had no idea until that very fortuitous time when we did that professional development. It was just crazy. And then ever since then, so it's coming at 15 years, I've been into it. It's like I've started life again because I had to go back to school.
Yes.
And now I'm reaping the rewards of doing all that training.
Sure. Growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I hated it. Absolutely hated school.
Why?
Yeah. I was one of those ones who grasped facts and knowledge fairly quickly and then needed to be challenged. But also you were talking about the punishment of kids in schools back in the day. And teachers back then were very set in their ways of how kids had to behave, what they had to do, the standard of the work they had to produce. And I was a bit, no, I don't really care what you're saying. I wasn't one to toe the line very much. So
Rebel, eh?
I was battling with teachers for many years. So I didn't enjoy school. I learned what I needed to learn, but it wasn't an enjoyable experience.
What were your favorite subject and the least favorite subject in school?
I always had terrible handwriting because back then we were learning the cursive script. So it was all very even and flowing, and I was hopeless at handwriting. Always been drawn to the maths science stream. Never been good at art, although my family, my grandmother was a brilliant artist, and my father was a concert pianist, but I could never learn music. As much as I loved music, I could never learn it to play an instrument. I could sing, but not play an instrument. And as much as I loved art, no, I just didn't have the skill. But yeah, the maths science, because it was always challenging. There was always that extra step you could go with the maths science. So that's probably what my favourite subjects were.
Beautiful. Imagine if you're in the same class in, say, grade 10 or 11. What kind of student and girl were you? Were you the shy one, the quiet one, the superstar, the life of the party, you're the cheerleader, the clown? What type of student were you back then?
Yeah, I was quite outspoken, as I am now.
Oh, yes.
If I felt the teacher was overstepping the line, I'd be the one to stand up and tell them that, and got me into trouble quite often. But also, I was really overlooked by the teachers for the level of education, or the level of the subjects that I could attain if they put the time in with me and showed a bit of interest. So I just went along doing better in the subjects I enjoyed, but just went along and got reasonable grades, knowing that, well, I could be an A+ student across the board if someone wanted to put the time in with me, just so I was interested. But yeah, just sort of made my way through and never failed, but certainly didn't excel. Did get some scholarships along the way, purely because the testing for those was outside of the normal curriculum in the school. So going and doing those particular exams, I excelled in those because I didn't have the pressure of the teachers telling me exactly what to do. I was creative. But yeah, no, I was always the outspoken one.
So when you were in high school and in university, college, were you popular with the boys?
Not really.
Huh?
I got along with them. I had a lot of the boys who were really good mates, but my husband, we've been married now for 50 years, So I met him when I was 16, which would have been in year 12.
Wow.
And we've been together ever since. So I hadn't had any serious boyfriends prior to that. But so 50 years together is not too bad.
Oh, beautiful. Were you guys in the same class? How did you meet him?
No. He's 6 years older than me. So he actually worked in a petrol station where my mother worked. And we just, he needed someone to go to a fire brigade ball with. And my mother said, "Oh, Susan will do that."
Thanks,
So
Mom.
we were just sort of thrown together because she knew he was a great guy. She wouldn't have offered otherwise.
Yeah.
And it just all went from there. And I got married when I was 18. So
who made the first
there you
move?
go.
Who made the first move?
Yeah. In the first, sorry? Oh, who did?
The first move.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. When did you know and realize that, hey, this guy is different, or there's something special about him?
I think pretty much straight away. He was quite persistent, I have to say.
You were playing hard to get?
Oh, a little bit, because I was only 16, so I wasn't looking for anything really serious.
Yeah.
But the more time we spent together, the more we sort of found that we were really suited to one another. Very different to one another. But I suppose the opposites attract. So
Well,
he's not academic at all. He's very hands-on type of person. So, but where I'm more the learning academic type person, but that's never been a problem.
Absolutely. Just like you said, the opposite attract. What would you say has been so far is the number one quality that's made him be very, not only just unique, but irresistible for you?
He's just dedicated. He's always been dedicated to me, dedicated to our family, always put us ahead of everything. And being the loving partner, loving father, now loving grandfather, and using, he had a very ordinary childhood, very ordinary indeed, though his family were very strange. And he didn't continue that, as some families have this ancestral thing, that gets passed down generation to generation. He was the one to stop that, which is what I offer now to people with some of my techniques, is how to stop that generational poverty and generational violence that gets passed down. But I'm just realizing now that he was the one to stop that on his side of the family. And he was always the loving person for everyone. He didn't use any of the bad experiences that he had as a child, taking them out on his own children or me, the way his father treated his mother. Never like that. So, just dedicated to us as a family. That's been a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. What would you say has been the one thing that has kept you guys together for over 50 years? And what would be the number one advice you would give to younger couples to make sure that their relationship lasts for decades?
Well, I think you have to consider the other person always. You can't put yourself ahead of the rest of the family to the exclusion of the other members of the family. And in a partnership, that's what it has to be in a marriage. I know it sounds corny, but it is a partnership. It's the give and take, allowing each other at separate times to be in the spotlight and just step back, and being supportive, being there when things go wrong and not just taking the easy way out. Often you'll see that partners split up purely because there's an issue with money, or they've lost their house, or there's whatever. something traumatic happens and then it's just too hard. You know, it's easier just to go and find another partner. So, and also not to bring your own family's baggage into the relationship.
Yes.
Just consider all that's in the past. That's not something that, the bad things I'm talking about, the loving families are amazing, bring that with you. But when you've had a traumatic family incidents and that sort of thing, leave that behind. That's not needed in this new relationship where you're building the trust, just as a proper partnership, you know, with the give and take. So leave your baggage behind, bring the love with you, and bring it forward with your kids, show them the love and knowing that they're wanted, that you go through bad times, but this is how you deal with them.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. Absolutely. Now, what was your very first job? And do you remember how much you get paid for the first time you worked?
My first job was working for a builder as their office manager. And I worked 4 days a week, 8-hour days, and I brought home $35 a week.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So that was in 1974.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Thank you.
And our first house, because we were so lucky. My parents gave us the block of land to build our house on as a wedding present.
Wow.
And we built our first house. The block was worth 2,500 Australian dollars back then. And the cost of the house to get built was $10,000.
Holy, I wish I was born 50 years ago.
Oh yeah, brand new house for $10,000.
Yeah.
And I worked for the builders who built the house. So that's how we all got that organized. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Awesome. Now, let's move forward from the time you left school to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing? Once you get into one lane, you were set for life? Or is it more like a turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
While I was home with the kids, I mean, I worked for that builder for 5 years before I had my first child. So that was very straightforward. That was just, you know, my husband worked at the steelworks and then I worked for the builder. And then when I got pregnant, I gave up work. And as I said before, I stayed home with the kids. While I was home with the kids, I did a lot of little jobs here and there, just to bring in some extra money, but jobs that I could do either while the kids were at school or when they were little, just things I could do at home. And I was a garment knitter for Coates Payton, who are pretty famous wool people, wool and yarn suppliers. So there was a group of us who got the patterns before they went into the pattern books, knitted up the garments in all the different sizes so they could tell exactly how much yarn each garment took, and then they could print up the pattern books. So I did that. I did a bit of direct selling, did family daycare where I had other people's children come and stay during the day while they were at work. So things that I could do around my own kids without not being with them. Then once my 2 younger children were in school, I went back to school and did, what did I do? I did 3 years altogether with advanced office and business administration with all, because by then it was all being computerized. Prior to that, it was all paper accounting and that sort of thing. But they were bringing in all these new computer programs. So I went and learned those and did a year of computing, including programming and that sort of thing. Then got back into the workforce, and purely because a job came up at my kids' school, that's when I started with the education department and then was with them ever since.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, let's move forward. You know, there's a saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by that, I mean, when you were at some of your lowest, darkest, most challenging part of your life, how did you change your story internally inside your head so you can change your reality externally?
That was probably the time when I thought, I've been home with my kids. The skills I have, some of them are still relevant. I mean, I could still type and I could still do some bookkeeping, but yeah, everything had gone on from the paper side of things to being computerized. So I thought, oh, this is time for me to start learning all this new stuff. We had at home an Atari computer, one of those very first ones, and the kids loved playing the games on that. So I had a little bit of an introduction into the microcomputers. And so I thought, well, yeah, now's the time. Kids are at school, so I've got those hours during the day. I can go back to study. And doing that, it did turn my life around, gave me so many more skills that I was able to use to get really good jobs. Not my life's calling, but really good jobs that paid well. So that would have been a huge turning point in my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let's talk about your business, your impact around you and around the world. Tell us about what's your business.
Well, where do I start? The hypnotherapy is my core business, and specifically the sport hypnotherapy for athletes and sporting teams. Within that, I've got my micro niche, which is the equestrian, purely because I'm into it so much. I've experienced all the problems that these riders have. But also extending the hypnotherapy practice to such a wide range of sports. So the individual sports, golf, surfing, martial arts, that sort of thing. And then the team sports, I sponsor an Australian football player, and he's changed from basketball. He was an Australian representative in a youth team. He got to that level with my help, can I say, when he was a basketballer, but he's changed now to AFL. So I sponsor him. But such a wide range of sports, because the mind game is so much a part of any sport.
Oh, huge. Everything.
Yeah. Equally as important as getting yourself match fit and having that coach who'll teach you the correct procedures, the correct way to hold and throw a ball, to use a golf club, all those things. You have that coach. Absolutely. You need that, but you also need the person who's going to help you with your mindset. And I love doing it. And it's just the wide range of people that I can help. And I've said this so many times to people, I wish that these athletes wouldn't come to me as the last resort, because they've tried everything else. Their normal coach can't stop them slicing when they drive the golf ball, or missing the putt when it should be an easy putt. Similar things across all sports. And it's that mindset. And it's the negative mindset. I missed it last time, so I'm going to miss it again. And by using the hypnotherapy, you can overcome those things, get rid of that stuff that's not helping, replace it with the positivity. So that's definitely my core business, but I'm just sort of expanding out all over the place at the moment.
Before continuing on that path, one question that came to mind. So you said you worked for 30 years in the education department, and then in the mid-50s, you found your path. Was that a specific event that made you find your path, or was it something progressive? Something that
No, it was absolutely, we did a full day of this mindfulness training. just so that people could overcome stress in the workplace. It wasn't anything to do with teaching people to be a practitioner. It was just showing people how they could use mindfulness in their day-to-day work so that they could overcome stress, had better relationships with their fellow workers, the teachers better relationships with their students, just techniques that they could use in their day-to-day work. And it was just that one day where I realised, oh, that's it. That's what I need to be doing. And of course, one thing led to another, the mindfulness, because I did go on and train as a practitioner. Then that led to the NLP, which was a natural progression into the hypnotherapy using the hypnosis. And then it's just gone on from there to do the energy work, and just so many things can help a person with their problems if you've got a wide enough range of tools in your toolbox to help them, because everyone's different. Sure. You can use NLP with someone and that'll be all they'll need. They'll just need those anchors. So especially the sports people, you know, you get a racing driver, put on your racing helmet, and then you switch into that racing mindset. And that's the trigger for the brain to switch from just the person who's going to drive a car to the person who's going to race. And it's similar in all sports. So that when you pick up your golf club, as soon as you do that, or you put on your golfing glove, then you switch into that mindset for that particular sport. And then some people actually need the hypnotherapy to go in and get rid of rubbish from their past. You know, with the riders, more often than not, will go back to childhood, and it'll be a parent or a coach when they were quite young saying, oh, you'll never be any good at riding. You know, you keep falling off and, you know, you're hopeless. You can't ride that horse that everyone else can ride. And of course, that young brain's taking all that in. Oh yeah, okay, subconscious mind. Think of horses. Oh, you're no good at riding. You're hopeless. And it's just that automatic response. So you need the hypnosis to go in and change that mindset. But everyone's different techniques for different people, and then you get the winning outcome.
So are you most using NLP to do that, or also using hypnotherapy? And if you use hypnotherapy, how far do you go back? Have you had to go back in past lives to help someone overcome whatever's holding them back in this life? It's like a two question.
Well, that's a tricky thing, because I do have a different type of hypnosis called quantum journeys hypnosis. And that has specific areas where you can visit past lives. And I don't tell the person to do this. What we do is speak before the session, and we'll just discuss things that are going on in their life at that time, things that they may want to overcome, just to prime the subconscious mind as to what is the most important thing to come forward in the session. Then you don't know what is going to happen in a quantum journeys hypnosis session. So that person's subconscious may need to visit a past life to resolve an issue in the current one. They may jump forward into a future life to show why they're doing something in this life, which will lead to something in the future. It may be a parallel life that actually what they're doing in this life is just slightly different in this parallel life, and this is the way they should be doing it instead of the way they're doing it now. And it's just amazing, doing quantum jumps, all sorts of things. But that's separate to what I now see as mainstream hypnotherapy, which I use with the sporting people. And more often than not, I'll do the hypnosis with the athletes, because it's a really quick way of going in and finding out what the issues are. More often than not, it will be someone has said something, or a number of people have said something over the years, and the person's taken it to heart, stuck in their subconscious mind, so they're never going to get past it. Or a coach, what I find quite often too is people who are told all the time, you're an incredible athlete. Why aren't you up with the elite? And you'll go in and find out the reason that they keep hitting that plateau is because a coach or a parent, someone in authority has said to them, no, you'll never make it. You're all right at this level, but you'll never be any better. You'll never get to state level or national level or international, whatever it is that they've told them. So the subconscious mind just keeps telling them that story. Yep, you know that you'll never get past there because so-and-so told you that and you believed it. So that's the hypnosis is amazing for overcoming that sort of thing.
Wow. Wow. Share with us an example of some of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
I had a lady who, again, is in that category of being very gung-ho rider, being in the riding scene since she was very, very little and no fear, just doing everything. Then she went off and had her son and away for long enough that she lost her riding fitness. She hadn't competed for probably maybe 5 years. So she was out of the routine of learning dressage tests, which is, that's a thing in itself, being able to remember 30 or 40 movements, one after another, and just have it there and be able to prepare for the following movement while you're still doing the one that you're doing. So she was out of the routine of doing that. She thought she could come back, jump on a horse, go out and compete at the level she was at before she had her son. And she just she was like a blubbering mess. She said, I don't know what it is. I used to have so much joy riding. Now all it is just a trial, because I have to force myself to go and ride the horse because there's no excitement or joy or happiness connected with it. I know I can do it because I used to do it in the past. Now I can't remember the dressage tests. I ride down the centre line and I just go blank. So it took very little actually to get her back into the right mindset so that she got a good coach, went out and competed, was able to remember the tests. She's gone on from, level to level ever since. Just amazing, just amazing. And it was, if I recall, it was only one full session and then listening to a recording to reinforce what happened in the session for a number of days afterwards, just so that that subconscious mind kept hearing those words that she would be successful. She can remember the dressage tests. There won't be any stress or tension related to competing. It'll be a feeling of joy and excitement. So, keep telling the subconscious mind that often enough and it starts to believe it and it becomes just your normal routine again. So
makes sense.
Yeah,
wow.
That was a huge success.
Sure. How are you getting your clients?
Initially word of mouth, because it's quite out there still. And the funny thing is with sports people who have hypnotherapy treatments and mindset coaches, that sort of thing, they don't talk about it, because being with those people gives you that edge over your competition. You don't want the competition to find out about that because then they'll get the mindset coach and they'll improve. So it's a bit of a secret society, unfortunately. But yeah, early on it was word of mouth through people, because I just started with friends. And once they saw the success they were having, then they told their friends and that sort of thing. So that's how I got started. Now I advertise on Facebook and other social media and in magazines and online platforms, news platforms, that sort of thing, and podcasts and radio and the telly now. That's going to be so exciting. That comes up next week here on local TV. But it was purely word of mouth to start with. Yep.
Tell us about your book. Sorry,
Well, the most
your books.
yes, I have written books in the past. There's one on hypnotherapy and one on there is a series that I have done. I'm trying to remember because it's a few years ago now, but the current one is on neurobiogetics. And this is a modality that I've put together and named myself. So this is my modality, and it's has the three elements of hypnotherapy, quantum biology, and epigenetics.
Wow.
And in the first instance, I'm targeting that at athletes to give them that real winning edge, because it not only gives them the correct mindset, it actually changes their physical body down to the cellular level and beyond. Because with the epigenetics, the science now shows that you can not change your DNA, but you can change whether the individual genes on your DNA are turned on or turned off. And I think I mentioned that before about the generational poverty, generational violence, but also the inherited illnesses due to your genetic makeup and which genes are switched on and switched off. So now with the advances also in genetic testing, I'm going to incorporate all that in this modality so that athletes can truly reach their peak performance mentally and physically. And of course, we also know that our thoughts change our physical being, and that you can use mental rehearsal, just thinking about things, to actually cause the same changes in your body as doing that rehearsal physically will do. And that's science. I'm not making that up. That's been proven time and time again. So I'm just thinking, it came to me that those three separate modalities were so intertwined that they would be perfect to use, particularly with athletes. And so that's what my book is all about. It's over 300 pages. I'm just doing the final proofing of it, seeing if anything needs to be removed or added, as you do when you're writing a book. But it should be an excellent reference guide for the athletes and their coaches, because everything is step by step how it all works.
Beautiful. So what's next for you? What's the next chapter that's awaiting you?
I also have an app coming out.
An app?
Yes, a hypnotherapy app, which is specific for horse riders, and where the software developers and myself, we're using AI to be able to produce potentially thousands of different audios for a person to download. So we have the specific areas that horse people may be looking for hypnosis downloads to assist them with, like learning dressage, learning show jumping, coming back after a fall, just developing a rapport and a connection with your horse. One that's really big with the women is fear of towing their horse float, their horse trailer. So we've also got the hypnosis downloads to assist them with that. There are 9 different categories there, but then there are also a selection of the inductions, which is what we use in hypnotherapy to take you into that receptive state. So you can choose going down steps, going through a garden. I'm not sure how many of those there are, but there are quite a few. And then you've got the bit in the middle, which is a number of different ways of giving you the suggestions. So again, you can be lying on a beach, listening to these suggestions. You can be out in the forest. What else? I mean, there's so many different ones. So, it's exponential. You've got all these inductions after you've chosen one of the 9 topics, then all the variations of the suggestibility parts for all the topics, and then again, the background music, binaural beats, whatever. So potentially thousands of different audios that anyone can download that are all related to problems that horse people have. And that's coming out very soon.
When?
Oh, not soon enough, can I say that? But we're getting to the stage now over the next few days that the marketing people will be creating a wait list for people to sign up and get some test ones that they can have a listen to and download. So that will be happening, fingers crossed, over the next week or so. And that's called Rider's Mindset.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Looking forward to it. Let me know when it's out. I'll check it out.
Will do.
We can talk for more. There's so many other topics we can unpack, but we may do that in a different episode. Let's start wrapping things up. To finish, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Oh, okay.
What's the best piece of advice you received so far in your life?
I think probably my parents thought I was too young to get married at 18. So I think going back to then, what one of them said, and I can't even remember whether it was my mother or my father, was be flexible in your relationship. Just don't go into this with a fixed mindset that it's going to be this way and then end up really disappointed because it doesn't work out that way. And yeah, I can't remember the exact words, but that was the thought at the time. Be flexible and go into this relationship, this marriage, with your eyes open and allow things to happen. Don't expect things to happen, but yeah, just be flexible. I'm pretty sure that was what they were telling me back then.
Love that. What has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received?
I was probably told that I wasn't suited for doing the math science type of stream, because I'm pretty sure one of the maths teachers said, well, don't bother, just go and do your secretarial stuff. That was really bad advice, because for a while I thought, oh, okay, even though I enjoy doing that, is this person telling me that I'll never be able to use that more technical side of things in my life? Maybe I should be going with the other girls and learning to type and take shorthand and that sort of thing. Thank goodness I didn't follow that advice, but I think looking back, it was bad advice, and it was fairly widespread, I think, at that stage too, because girls were expected to either be a secretary, a nurse, or a teacher, but not to do the stuff that the men did. No, go and be engineers, and computing was just starting then. So women couldn't do computing because that was with the mainframes and things.
Yeah. So
yeah, that was bad advice. Glad I didn't take it.
Sure. Imagine that you were blessed with a time machine. You can go back in time and sit face to face with an 18-year-old Sue. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
Yeah, it's a funny concept, really, because you learn as you live. And if you don't experience some of those things as you live your life, then you miss out, because experiencing certain things lead you to do things that you may not have expected in your life. So probably I would say to anyone really, just be really open-minded.
Mm,
Don't discount anything.
absolutely.
If you don't immediately have that gut feeling that it's the wrong thing to do, then be a bit inquisitive. And I think Richard Branson said, say yes and then find out how to do whatever it is afterwards.
That's it.
But yeah, unless it really feels like it's a bad thing to do, be open-minded and explore things that are a bit out there, because you never
Yeah,
know where it'll lead you.
absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have your own podcast yet?
No, I don't.
What's the number one reason you haven't started it yet?
It's certainly been in the back of my mind on and off. Just applying myself to getting things like that organised. That's the only thing that's been holding me back, because
Okay.
we now have these wonderful platforms that do so much for you on the technical side.
Sure.
You don't have to have an actual studio anymore. Like I'm sitting here with my computer and a microphone, little camera on the top of the screen,
That's it. Yeah.
and we're having this incredible chat and recording it and be able to spread it to far and wide. So
Yeah.
just doing the actual planning's been the only thing.
Cool. Awesome. So imagine that today you add a podcast and it's very popular, and you're interviewing the most special person in the world, and that is yourself.
Oh,
What's the first question that you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. First thing that comes to your mind.
I think just get me to explain that you can change your life.
Mm,
That what happens in your early life doesn't set you up to be that person forever. That
absolutely.
you can keep improving,
Hmm.
changing your direction, and just following things that really give you joy and pleasure. So
Absolutely.
to explain how that's happened over a lifetime.
Totally. Love that. Last question I ask is my favorite question to ask all my guests, and that is, what is the smallest thing? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing you've done that has had the greatest, most profound positive impact in both your life and in your business. For example, for me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you, Sue?
Realizing that I could help people in ways that I'd never even thought of,
Mm,
and having the great joy of going down the rabbit holes and finding out more and more and more. A bit like Alice in Wonderland, you go down the rabbit hole, you don't know where you're going to come out.
mhm.
But that one realization that I have the ability to help other people in so many ways, that changed my life. Absolutely.
I agree. Beautiful. Listen, Sue, beautiful conversation. Love talking to you. And we only just scratching the surface. There's so many more
Yes.
items we could dive deeper. We're probably going to do that in the future. I
Yeah.
salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, your impact, everything you're doing. And keep me posted. Oh, one last question. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Yes, probably through the website, sporthypnotherapy.com. There's a contact form there that they can reach out to me using, and I offer a 30-minute chat, obligation free, no cost, because hypnosis isn't for everyone. So I like to have a chat first and just see where people are at and whether I can help them or not. But certainly reach out to me for any of the things that we've spoken about today, even if it's not related to the hypnotherapy, if it's related to the animals, the energy work, anything like that. Contact me through the sporthypnotherapy.com website and just let me know what it is you want to speak to me about. More than happy to have a chat.
Love that. I'll put that all in the show note. Listen, I salute you. Keep shining your light. You're a true leader with a heart. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my dear friend. And we're definitely going to be talking again soon. Take care. As we say back home in Canada, have a fantabulous day. And
Yeah.
rest of the day and
Oh,
week.
it's been absolute joy and pleasure being with you today, Payman. I hope we do speak again.
Take care. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.